Hello, I'm Adam Wolf with the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine. I'm here today with Brad Watts, a former CAR T patient and current patient advocate with the Emily Whitehead Foundation. Brad, welcome to ARM Studios.
Thank you very much for having me, Adam. I appreciate it, and just want to first thank ARM for the fantastic event that they put together and organized. The atmosphere is electric, and it's infectious. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Brad, I know earlier today we sat down with you on a fireside chat, so thank you so much for sharing us your story and journey. We know that in 2017 you were diagnosed with lymphoma. Can you walk us through a little bit kind of your entire patient journey from being diagnosed to remission and how long you've been cancer-free for now?
I was diagnosed November 13th, 2017. I will never forget that day with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma and follicular. I initially went through treatment and was treated with R-CHOP, which was the chemo regimen. It was the standard of care at that point in time. After R-CHOP, I successfully received my first and only complete response from that treatment, and that was a day at Penn where they were also receiving FDA approval for Kymriah, and there was a big flash mob, a lot of excitement, and I remember being very excited about CAR T and just it provided me with hope if my cancer ever came back. And unfortunately it did. 8 months later, we ended up moving forward with radiation therapy, a light amount of radiation to treat a node in my neck where a lot of the times the nodes came from. In 2019 into 2020, I then ended up, the cancer came back. So we went the standard of care, which was rice. And then if I performed well, if my body responded well to that, then I would then go to stem cell transplant. If it failed, I would go to CAR T. So we went to the stem cell transplant autologous in order to deepen the response. But that failed immediately. And I was back in, I got my wish, so to speak, of being able to then go in for CAR T. And from there, I promise there's an ending to this. From there, I went to immunotherapy, pembrolizumab or Keytruda, and radiated the same area again to reinvigorate the CAR T cells and to direct them to the area of cell damage in my neck to attack that area. For a lot of people that know about blood cancers, we ended up resecting a lot of the bad and malignant nodes, and that's more of a buying me more time rather than it is a curative treatment or anything along those lines. So I wrapped up with that and have been now cancer-free and on a drug holiday since my honeymoon and wedding in 2021, so for about 3 years now.
Having gone through that entire journey and having gone through step-by-step the different treatments you can do for lymphoma, what does it mean to you to be a patient advocate now for the Emily Whitehead Foundation?
Yeah, that is a very good question, Adam. And initially I didn't want anyone to know about my cancer. I didn't want to be treated differently. I wanted to keep it very private. Some friends didn't even know until they saw a bald head and were like, hey, what's going on? And then I realized through work with the Emily Whitehead Foundation, as well as other organizations like the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, that how impactful talking about my story would be and could be to future patients, as well as for developers and others in the industry. And the work with the Emily Whitehead Foundation, which is fairly recent. I've just began working with them earlier this year. It's been huge working with other patients, hearing their stories. I realized how impactful and helpful it's been for me as well, hearing their stories, but giving back and finding ways to help further to move cell and gene therapies further up in the standard of care and to get away from, I'll call them prehistoric drugs like chemotherapy and things along those lines.
Excellent. So then as a patient advocate, and again, having gone through the process and regimens for cancer treatment, what would you say is the ideal way that if you're a lymphoma patient and you have cell therapy options, what's a good way as the development community and also the medical community to communicate those options to patients?
Yeah, I wish I had a silver bullet for this that would cover everything. It needs to be spoken about often and always and early, any which way possible, because it is just significantly. The idea, the science behind CAR T, it was just a tremendous treatment that I ended up going through myself. More physicians need to know, patients need to know. I don't know how that's done. I don't know if we need commercials at the Super Bowl or whatever it might be, but anything would be helpful, because patients that don't know that there are cell and gene therapies available for whatever their disease may be need to know that there are other options, rather than instead of just what their one provider is telling them versus another.
I see. So in the similar vein to that then, what special programs do you wish were available when you would have, discovered cell therapy during the stage when you found out about Kimbria? So was there anything that, you thought you could have better had to educate yourself about it, or to know the different options available to you?
I found help and assistance from where initially it was Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They had webinars and talks and conversations, and they set me up with I forget what the term is called now, but it was basically another patient advocate who would, another patient who's gone through the treatments that you've gone through. And while it was a scary time, I didn't know what to expect. There was a lot of uncertainty, and speaking to another patient who had followed my path before me and had positive success gave me a significant amount of hope, and also, again, to your original question, educated me on what the treatment was and could be and what to expect.
And my final question for you is, having been a Kimbria patient and having gone through the process, where do you hope regenerative medicine will go in the next decade or so in its ability to treat different types of cancers?
Well, this is probably the easiest question, in that I hope that it's a first line of treatment, and people, the personalized medicine and directing toward treatment towards the disease that this particular patient has, as opposed to chemo, where it doesn't, it attacks every cell in the body, rather, or all the fast-growing cells in the body, as opposed to just the bad cells that are dividing aggressively. I hope that it would be fantastic if it was a first line of treatment. And I also hope that the manufacturing process is easier. All the hurdles that we typically have now in the industry, whether it be access, education, the manufacturing process taking weeks and multiple weeks in order to receive your cells back, your CAR T back. I certainly hope that can improve, and based off of what I've been hearing at Cell and Gene meeting on the Mesa, it sounds like we're taking the steps to that. And then to answer the second part of your question about other treatments and other types of cancers, solid tumors, I certainly hope that the start of CAR T in hematology can then be transferred over to, like, for example, TIL therapy, which Iovance does for melanoma, and it just keeps expanding from there to breast cancer and other areas which it can have a significant impact on.
So Brad, thank you so much for joining us at ARM Studios today.
It's a pleasure.
Your story is truly inspiring, and we're really thrilled to have you here at the conference.
Thank you very much for having me, Adam. I appreciate it. And
thank you.
Thank you for your time.